Start recording. What's up, everybody? It's Devin here, Bridging the Gap crew. What is going on? And you know who it be. We got Coach B up in the box above me. That's right, I got bars for days. And we got my guy, Norman Saunders, over here. And
What's
again,
going
Norman,
on,
we
man?
had some technical issues, so the live stream got cut short, but we're going to pre record this and post it up here. But again, explain what you do and what you're about, Norman.
I am a credit specialist. What that means is that I help people repair their credit, raise their credit score. Uh, as I said before, I got into it because I'm trying to start other things, and to start those things as far as streams, I would need financing. In with my credit where it was, I could get the financing, but it'd be kind of strenuous because of interest rates and all that stuff. So to make it better for myself, that I repair my credit. It is something that is epidemic, obviously, with the United States because of education. So I got into being a credit specialist to help others to learn how to do it themselves if they want, if they're like me, that just don't have the desire, time, or the know-how to just hire somebody to do it. You know what I mean? But to get your credit fixed is something that everybody needs to do because the power of credit is amazing, and it makes your life a whole lot easier because, like, if you ever seen the commercial come New Year's, like, you can go get this brand new car and you won't have to pay not a payment until August or something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever go there, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, do you have perfect credit?"
Yeah,
So
exactly. I
you
mean,
know,
they put that and they put that in the fine print of those things, but you don't get to read it where they
right,
say, yeah, your credit score must be with proper credit or what have you. You can get this deal, but you know what I mean. You have to have
exactly.
almost deadly accurate credit, and I think that's the detriment is people don't understand how important credit is, especially if they want to move in a different lane later in life or in any time in their
Right.
life.
Right. I mean, just like you said, take that example. If you go in there, you can go in there, sign your name for this car they advertise on TV, and walk out with it. You don't have to pay anything, no down payment. Um, Simple things like you have to put a security deposit for your phone or for your utility or something like that. That's because of bad credit. If you had good credit, you just walk in, get your phone, walk out. I'll see you on bill day with the connection fee and everything else. You know what I mean? I don't have to put down no money to walk out with the phone. So
And I think what you said was important too, as being that like the educational part of it. Like most people, like I'm not even gonna lie, in my teens going out on my own for the first time and in early 20s, I wasn't really people would talk about credit, but I was not educated on credit. I didn't like if I seen I'm not even gonna lie, if I seen a commercial that said, credit check or whatever, blah blah, like you said, maybe a car or something like that, or whatever credit came up, I knew what it was, but I didn't know the importance of it. And I think
right.
that's a missing part to educating our kids right there
Yeah,
is
it is.
educating them on how important credit is when you want to make moves in your life for yourself. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly. I'll be honest. When I was growing up, I knew about street credit,
Yeah,
which
street
which
credit.
is which is honestly is like I'll go borrow this from, my homeboy or my cousin. It's no interest, and as
Hmm.
long as I'm communicating, I pay him back. If I don't
Right.
pay him back, then my street credit will go down. And when
Yeah.
there's something came up on TV about credit, I'll be honest with you, I just like, well, that ain't for me. I mean, I just put it like that. That ain't for me because I can't do that. I can't go in there and sign for a car and walk out. I know I can't. You know what I mean? So I was basically taught to be cash and carry. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Cash
Cash,
and carry and street credit.
cash, and building your credit and stuff like that is important too, right? Because you can't just
Yes.
like if you didn't use your credit, it's the same as having bad credit, from what I
Right.
understand.
Having no credit is the same as is well, having no credit is bad. And it's on the same level as bad credit, but it's not as bad as having bad credit because bad credit means like you had credit and you made it bad. Having no credit is okay, you just have to build credit. So you just have
Right.
to go up with no credit. But bad credit, you have to correct what you did bad and then go up. You know what I'm saying?
And does that go from like when do they start credit report from 18, or is this something like when back in the day when auntie or moms put our name in the
That's
put the gas in our name, and we
okay.
find out we have a $600 gas bill when we go to do our, is that
Oh,
something that
okay.
affects?
I'll break down the how your credit score is
Calculated.
calculated. You got 35% of it is your payment history.
Mhm.
So what you're saying, as soon as you got something put in your name, started your payment history. You know what I'm saying? Then you got 30% is the amount you owe, like amount owed. Like if you go get a credit card for $10,000, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So the whole key of all credit cards is if you get $10,000, you only want to use up 30% of that. Long as you use up 30% and keep coming down, and 30% keep coming down, you're good. Now, as soon as you go over 30%, now it starts hitting your credit report. Now, when I say things about hitting your credit report, that's when it starts taking your numbers down, your score down. You know what I'm saying? So then you got 15% is your length of history. Again, if you started at 16 with a gas bill or whatever that mom put, that started your history. But
Mm.
that you had that, a good thing with that is that you had it for so long. If you corrected that, then your length of history by the time you hit 25, 26, you got 10 years when everybody else, if they started 18, you know what I'm saying? They
Mm.
only got,
Right.
so that would be a good thing. 10% is new credit. You know what I mean? Which you know what that is. And 10% is the types of credit used. Like, did you use credit cards, house loan, car loan? You know, now the one thing you always need to do, you want to have something that you're always paying on. Obviously it should be a house and a car. That's something you should always pay on. There is okay, everybody want to go and pay off their car. Okay, well if you pay off your car, you still have your house, but get some credit cards or something. You got to have something that's revolving. You can't never say I don't owe anything and all that because that's gonna hurt your score also. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
you got to have like a house payment or a car payment. You know, credit cards are okay, but that house and car, because that's what everybody uses, you know what I mean? That's common. That's the two they really look for. So always keep a car, always keep a house. You know what I'm saying? On your credit report because you need somewhere to drive, you need somewhere to live. So long as you keep them two things, that'll show, your length of credit, your payment history right there. And payment history is the most. That's 35%.
Mm. Now,
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
my question is that work both ways now? So we're talking about this. So say the car and the house are the best ways to earn credit if you're constantly paying on them. But
Mhm.
can they also be the biggest detriment if you miss house payments or you miss car payments? Does that hurt your score even worse than say if you didn't pay a bill or pay back a credit card?
It does hurt. It worse. I don't think it's any. Well, if you didn't pay a credit card, of course, if you don't pay your house, that's going to hurt more because your house is probably your biggest payment
Mm-hmm.
of every month. You know what I mean? Then after
Right.
that'll probably come your car. If you have a credit card payment that's above your house or car, you're already upside
You're
You're
down.
losing.
already in trouble.
You're
You're already in
losing.
trouble.
Yeah.
So,
So
in saying that, like, what do you think? Like, okay, you mentioned the house and the car. What do you think the biggest? I don't even know if they score it like that because I'm starting to learn about the credit. I got a couple things on there. I got a couple things that I worked with and a couple things that I know that's going to affect me. And so I'm in that stage of working out that stuff. What would you think? What is the most important thing on your credit that would be negative? Like, which one is? Would it be like a student loan that was in default? Is that a big one?
well, it's credit is like DNA. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's credit is different. Like
Hmm.
me and you and Devin could all have the same score, but how we each got there was our own way.
Mm.
So what would be something major for you would be different for me, and something major for you know what I mean. So it's like DNA. That answer is like it depends on your credit. You know what I'm
So
saying?
they're so they're going through it like a history and building what type of person, what type of spending you,
Right.
type of decisions you
It's a
make.
DNA thing. It's your credit. It's how you did your bills. You know what I'm saying? You could have paid your house, but your cars wasn't worried about. I could have been vice versa. Devin could have been having credit cards. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But we all got crazy credit at this point. So, you know what I mean? The major thing depends on what each person did. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That way
Mm-hmm.
there. But like I was saying earlier that we got cut off, what's important that everybody needs to know is that for them to keep something on your credit report, it has to be 100% accurate. If
Bing.
If it's not 100% accurate, they have to remove it. That is the law. You know what I mean?
I love loopholes.
Exactly.
I love
So,
loopholes.
and then come in like we was talking earlier, the dispute letters. If you have some things and you want to work on your credit by yourself, you have to draw up a dispute letter. That dispute letter will dispute that specific item that's on your credit report to each bureau, and then they have 30 days to respond. If they don't respond within 30 days, obviously it comes off right away. If they respond, they'll tell you, what they did. We saw this. We see it wasn't 100% accurate. Well, they won't use those words. They'll say, we'll see that this was inaccurate, negative, or whatever. So we'll move it off your credit report. And so what that means is they have to, if you write all these out, this is what I would suggest to people that want to do it themselves. Find out everything that's on there, write every letter that you need to write. I'm sorry,
Someone's
that's
about to be
outside.
arrested. No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, that's
They're on to you. You said about the loophole. They're on to you. They know. They know you're tight.
If you started running, bro, we got a viral moment.
Yeah, we got a viral
but
moment.
no, but I would write every letter
Uh-huh.
that you need to write and then mail them all out the same day. And what that does is with everybody got this at the same time because the mail system, they call it snail mail, it all moves the same way. Mm-hmm. So in 30 days, we'll say 30, 35 days, everybody heard about it. You know what I mean? All three credit bureaus heard about it. So then after 30 days, if you haven't received anything, but 45 days, I'll say is the max. If you haven't received anything back, go back and check your credit score because then, boom, your credit score will go up. You know what I'm saying? You'll see some type of movement because they can't verify all the stuff that's on there. If you, like you said, the example you used, if mama put a bill in your name at 16 in right now in my name, and right now I live in Charlotte, that's not accurate. It has to come off. You know what I mean? One, I'm not in Erie. I'm in Charlotte. I just sent you a dispute letter with my address on there and my social security number. So it's proven that I live here, not there, has to come off. You see what I'm saying? If it was on
So
there.
you could find ways, those loopholes that could say, okay, this wasn't made by him. So basically fraud things, like if somebody got a hold of your things, there's ways that you can find those loopholes that will say, hey, that wasn't me, and they can identify it as fraud. Are those hard things to figure out if you come and you see something on your list and say, hey, that wasn't me, and now you got to just go do the work basically.
Right, the dispute letter. Now, a stat that's very true that all these stats that I found out is the reason why I got into it. There's 4 out of every 5 credit reports, 4 of them have errors on it. So if an error is on the report, then it automatically has to come off. So out of 5 reports, 4 of them got errors on it. So
that's a high number. That's a betting number there. I'm betting.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. And that's what it is. I mean, like we said earlier, nobody taught us about this. So then these private industries that are the credit bureau, this is how they make their money. This is how they go ahead and keep you down and, have
predatory lending.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And because we're not educated. So that's why I'm out here teaching these things because if you get educated and you know how to do this, your credit score will go up just by writing a few letters. Now, I will say this, that the dispute letters, find some. I haven't found any because like I said, I have no desire to just pay somebody to do it, but find some that has the correct language or verbiage that you need to have from a credit attorney or something like that to write the dispute letter. You know what I'm saying? If you go in there and just say, yo, man, this shit ain't mine. That ain't gonna work.
They gonna be like,
well, we'll prove it. Well, I have a question now because again, this brings up an interesting point. You said about the address, right? You could say, well, I don't live here. Like say mom puts the bill in coach's name for, what was it, $600 when you're 16.
Why is everybody trying to use my credit?
Yeah, well, okay, I'll use my example. So say I have a bill from a place where I was getting internet. I actually moved, and then I even called them to cancel. And then I still get letters telling that they tell me that I owe them money, even though that I paid the bill and I paid the fee to cancel and get out of my contract prematurely for my internet service, right? Now, They still say that I owe money. My question is to you now, if I went to go look at my credit report, right? And this was in the middle of a move, and I canceled it after I moved and said I no longer want your service, yada, 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 and I wasn't here. If it's a change of address, say I didn't live there at the time, right? Could I get that? If they said I lived somewhere else but I had moved already, could I say, well, I don't even live there? and then if they
All
had
right,
that
but
address listed.
well, the question I would first ask is, who are you getting the letters from? You're getting the letters from the cable company or someone the cable company sold your account to?
Um, That's a good question. I was getting letters from CenturyLink at first from the actual company, but yeah, now I'm getting, and I even get phone calls from people that are they're with
Right.
credit
Okay.
bureaus. So
Again, and I'm glad you got it because this is a perfect example. Everybody has this, and here is how this works. CenturyLink, as you know, with a business, they do profit and loss every year.
mhm.
You know what I mean? So they wrote yours off as a loss or a profit, whatever. You said you paid it, so they just wrote it off. They sold your account to a debt collector.
Mhm.
Once CenturyLink sells that, they can no longer collect on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they sold it.
And
Essentially, they've been paid for it, so it's not theirs no more. They cannot collect on that no more. You can get that taken off your credit report because a debt collector, no matter what they say, they're not on your credit report. Just CenturyLink is.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying
You know
is
what I
that if
mean?
they already sold it, if they already, so what you're saying is if they already sold it, I could say, well, you're not CenturyLink. I don't owe you money. You're the credit company that they sold or whatever
Exactly.
to. I don't owe you any
Exactly.
money.
Exactly. But see, we didn't know that. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
crazy
that's
because and they
that's the
send you
truth.
those letters and they make it seem like you have to pay them.
Yeah, or we're
Like,
gonna come take your youngest and
yeah,
something
right.
like
Well,
that.
I don't believe in that. Like, debtor's prison, everything. But I do agree though. I like that's something I totally didn't understand or know about because when I hear about these situations, I get the paper and I just say, well, I guess I'm gonna have to keep ignoring it until it goes away at this point because I'm not gonna pay them back for a service I know I paid for.
Right.
Like
Now I mean, and not to completely pitch my service, but they have the company I'm affiliated with has credit attorneys in house. And if that, like, say you had become a member, Devin, and you're like, look, they keep calling me, the credit attorney will give them a call, the debt
mm,
collector, and let them know to stop contacting my client, and the calls would cease.
that's
So,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, because of the law that you now know that once CenturyLink sold that account, CenturyLink, you're no longer on the hook to CenturyLink. And the debt collector is just some cat sitting somewhere. Let me buy these debts and collect because why? The ignorance of America does not know the way this works. So I can collect money even though they don't really owe this money anymore.
Yeah, because
You know
they
what I mean?
think
That's what a debt collector is essentially.
right
So
because they blanket things.
once they sell it to the debt collector, it is like is the century is it will it show up on your report that they sold it to a debt
No,
collector and it would affect you? So it's
no.
just they're wiping their hands.
CenturyLink is wiping their hands, but it's still in your credit report. This is where the dispute letter comes in, and it has to be 100% accurate. Once you prove that that's not accurate, well, you don't have to prove it. You just say this has been uh, this has been sold to a debt collector.
In which you could get what probably a letter from the debt collector or something they sent you and show that to them or something.
Yeah.
No, I mean you wouldn't even need that because what the credit bureau will do is contact CenturyLink and find out is do they still owe this, and they're like no, and then they'll take it off your credit report. Once it comes off your credit, I don't know how many things. I will say that I don't know how many things have to come off before your credit score to move, but
Right.
if you have like a bunch of these, then but I can tell you this for personal experience, and this is the truth. I got with them on January 13th. On February 11th, my personal credit score went up 16 points, and all they did was remove one thing off my credit report. You know what I'm saying? And
Just
I'm
one
like,
thing.
it went one thing, and my score went up 16 points.
That's
Mhm.
You know
yeah,
what
and
I'm saying?
I believe it's definitely like I to me like I knew this years ago when I first got into business and I had to do some financial things and partnership that I was in and still in was like he was like, "Yo, what's your credit like? Let's check your credit." So I
Right.
checked it and I seen the discrepancies on there and I started to delve into it. And what I thought at the time, and I think this is one of the things, it's an intimidating factor if you don't know how that thing works. Just like
Exactly.
we're listening, we're seeing it. It's like one of those things, a big mountain. You got to shovel a driveway that's full of 6 feet snow, but you're never going to get it done until you take that first step. And I think a lot of people do that, saying, "Oh man, I got a mountain of debt. Where do I start?" And they get intimidated by the fact because they don't know. And like we keep saying about the education part, and I think that is one of the things that needs to be done. I think they kind of leave it to like the parents to teach our kids, but you know, if you're come from like broken home scenarios or single parents, you know what I mean, that are always, and they just don't have that, or maybe not have the knowledge themselves. They had to do what they had to do to take care of their family, and they have bad credit or whatever. Do we think this is something that should be taught to our kids in school? I mean, they're learning a lot of useless bullshit from Rip. Why wouldn't they teach this to kids at a young age and put that in their mind? Because like I just don't understand that
Well,
fact.
you're asking why wouldn't they teach it? Because if you want to be completely honest, it's because they don't want you to know
Exactly.
things
They don't
like
want you to
Norman's
know.
telling us. Because there are whole industries, from what he's basically saying, that make money off the fact that there are ignorant people that don't know what this is about, right? Like myself, who's ignorant about it. They make money off people like that who are ignorant, who don't understand it. They're going to say, "Hey, I'm just going to let it go," and maybe someday down the line they get enough money to say, "I'm going to pay back this debt." And they're paying it to a guy who they don't even have to pay it to. They just bought the debt from what the say CenturyLink, right, as the example,
Right.
and then
Right.
they're like hoping to collect on it. Maybe even descent. Now this is something I was curious about. Do they sell it to debt collectors at a lower rate, and then
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and then the debt
Yeah.
collectors can collect the full thing and say, "Oh, you need to pay this," you
But
know?
well, they can try that, and then if you're being adamant about not paying the full thing, then they'll
You can
offer you a
Oh,
work with.
discount.
Yeah,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
work.
Well, right now, if you act today, we'll give you 15, 20% off. You know,
That's
some garbage.
That's exactly, Norman, what they sent me was the last letter I got was something that
Yeah,
said you only have to pay half of it. So what I'm thinking is
yeah,
now that you say this, so CenturyLink probably sold my debt for like probably a fraction, an eighth, and a fourth of what it was worth. And then they were like, all right, pay the full thing back. But if you act today, you only have to pay half back. So they still make double the money for what they paid for my debt. If
right.
I
Now
paid,
think about it.
what
Think
if I paid
about it.
half?
Now, if you, I mean, I've had companies. If you anybody had companies, you know, you have a profit and a loss section at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the year. If they wrote that off as a loss, what does CenturyLink have to gain or lose? What do they care? They wrote it off as a loss. Their account with you has been settled.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now they just send it to this guy that wants to be, bugaboo calling you and all that, craziness. Man, it's the one another misconception is that, oh, it has to come off in 7 years. They have to pull it off in 7 years. No, they don't. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to stay on there 7 years. You can get a foreclosure today. And if you moved, obviously you moved. So
Right.
you could say, I don't live there. There can be, now I'm giving you examples, don't quote me 100% because I'm not a credit attorney, but the credit attorney knows how to write the dispute letter that foreclosure you got at the end of 2018 can come off right now off your credit report. It doesn't have to stay on there 7 years. You know what I mean? That's a misconception that we're taught. All these things we're taught, these folklores, like I use the example as always, everybody's seen Wizard of Oz. I said, it's like the Wizard of Oz. I was like, you hear this overpowering voice, and when you pull back the curtain, it's this little danky dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, that's the credit bureaus. It's like they have all this, and then you sit up here, you learn the laws. It's like, really, you know what? You really don't have
They don't even have
no
anything.
rule because you're not backed by the government. You're privately owned. The stockholders are the ones that basically own the company. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
you don't really, you really have no power as we thought, because we thought it was like, oh, the credit bureaus mean that's, borough, the word borough, make it sound like it's government.
Yeah, it makes you scared. Yeah, right.
And it's not.
It's just a trusted thing of lenders to look at to say, okay, they did the research on this person for us.
Exactly. And that's what they use. You know what I'm saying? That's
Correct.
exactly what they use. So that's why you got to, do your due diligence on this side. So when you go get the car, when you go get the house, when you go apply for the apartment or whatever, and they say, well, let's pull your credit. Instead of sweating or wondering, you already know you got what they consider good credit. So you go like, well, yeah, let's go pull my credit. And
Yeah.
then you
Right.
sit down and then they pull the credit. Then they look at you and you smile at them like, yeah, I got good credit.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I already knew that.
But
You know what I'm saying?
but some people, some people they know they have bad credit and they need that thing that they got to get. So and they don't know the information that you're saying now, where you can really dispute all of these things. You could get a credit attorney and get some of these things basically pulled off in like no time. Or things that, like, again, things that you thought were you were never going to get rid of, or actually can be gone in the snap of a finger.
Right. Now, I will say it is a process. Like I said, in 30 to 45 days, you'll see movement. That doesn't mean that everything is going to be disputed, everything comes off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. And I usually say, like, I tell people that, like, become a member of, the services I offer, I tell them to stay there 6 months. And the reason why I say 6 months is because your credit is in shambles now. You didn't know what you were doing, just like me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm here 6 months, not only do they restore the credit, if I use the other tools that they offer me to help get my finances in order after 6 months, it should become a no-brainer. So stay on the program for 6 months. So when you're done, when you finally say, I'm done with the program, you have a grip on your finances and you'll never go back to needing my services again.
Right.
Because you'll have the knowledge.
Exactly.
You'll have the knowledge.
Exactly.
They're providing you with the knowledge to move forward and say, basically, it's your self-discipline to say, don't make those mistakes. Because let's face it, most people are going to make those young mistakes. Oh, I got a credit card. Let me go buy this TV. Let me go buy this new furniture set that
Right.
all depreciates in value. And now you're stuck with the bill and you don't have that bullshit no more. There's no resale value in it. So you got absolutely nothing out of it but what the time you got. And then when you didn't, fulfill the whatever the payments on that, now you have to get the knowledge to understand to go how to avoid that one, and then to make smart decisions on rebuilding your credit, which I think is very it's
Right.
got me intrigued to it's one of those things that I just said to you too. Like I known I had to do it for years. I just didn't go. It was one of those mountain things. Like
Right.
how I
Right.
gotta go
But
I gotta go figure it out. And it's just one of those things that I think everybody's got to do.
right. And like you said, I know now, not speaking for you, but sitting here, I know now I don't pull back the curtain. You see that it's not really a big ass mountain.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's a
this
bump.
is obtainable. You know what I mean? And plus, I mean, things like that, it's like you said, if you're young and you get a credit card, who told you about the 30% rule? Nobody. Credit cards ain't gonna tell you that. Because
Right.
how do they make money? As soon as you go over that, we can, yeah, we make interest on you, you know what I'm saying? And then that interest rate is something everybody should pay attention to because, again, they'll say low interest rate or interest rate like this. Like Samuel L. Jackson is doing Capital One,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody's seen the commercial. They sent me and saying I could get on there, but they offered 27%. Like if you have good credit, you can get a platinum American Express and have 5%.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but they're preying on, like you said, they prey on,
Predatory lending.
and
Yeah.
like Devin said, they prey on the ignorant, they prey on the poor, you know what I mean? All these people, even now, I got a couple customers that would be considered, well-to-do. They got Teslas, they got a $500,000 house, but they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they're stealing from Tim too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they go open another credit card, max that out to pay this one. It's like, yo, calm down. You know what I mean? You're doing all this to keep up with the Joneses, and by all appearances, all appearances, it looks like, yeah, you got everything going on. We can look and see your nice house, your nice car, but you are more debt than everybody else.
A house of cards. It could all
Exactly.
fall down at some point.
Exactly.
If something goes wrong and the payment goes, everything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
credit, that interest rate is what everybody needs to pay attention to because, like I said, the 699 is fair credit, but 700 is good credit. That 1 point, that could be 10%. You know what I'm saying? It could be something crazy in the difference of interest rates just by that 1 point because they set up this system that everybody goes by. They being the credit bureaus and everybody being housing lenders, car loans, you know what I mean? Credit cards, apartments, even some jobs now are running your credit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you have bad credit, you can't even get the job.
Which
So
that's
how can
even
you get the
crazier.
yeah, how can I work to pay off this debt if you won't give me a job because I got it's crazy. That's what I'm like, look, we need to do this. Their education has to be this is something that it's not a fad. It's something that you need to have done. one way or another, it needs to get done because everything is going against the common man, I'll call it, the one that has to juggle the bills and everything. That's why we need to have good credit. We need to get our credit fixed so now we can go out and get the apartment or get the job to pay for the apartment or house or
Yeah.
car. But
And
obviously the education. I'm sorry, Devin, but obviously the education is just because you make enough to pay for a Land Rover, don't go buy a Land Rover.
yeah, no, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? My dad taught me if I can afford a caddy, get a Chevy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's you got to have, like you said, Lauren, you got to have that discipline to say, okay, I can't afford this, but guess what? Nah, I'm gonna get this because this is more sensible to get. And plus, with the extra money, what can I do? Build something, a trust or something for my kids. But also, when they get older, I can teach them the same thing. You know what I mean? And not all kids gonna listen, but as long as you gave it to them,
Gave them the
eventually they'll come
knowledge.
back around.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
going to need that knowledge and information. They're going to use it. And like I said, again, Norman, I appreciate all this information you've given me tonight. And I was going to say one more thing. I was just curious because of you said about there's part of your credit score is the amount of time that something's on your credit score or the time.
The
Is that
length of
correct?
history,
Yeah, the length of history. So
right?
does that mean that do things eventually phase out of your credit score, or are they always there until you get rid of them? I just want to make sure this misconception or conception gets light shine on it for everybody that's watching in case they don't understand it.
Well, the one thing about the length of credit, like I said, remember the misconception of it has to come off after 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what we with that false teaching, we thought that okay, I can just relax, and 7 years from now, it'll come off by itself.
Mm,
You're right, because that's what we're taught. Now,
right.
the length of history, meaning that this has been on your credit for 7 years. This has showed that you have not paid this bill for 7 years. That looks bad. So if you know these rules, what I'm saying, and that don't have to stay on there, you can get this taken off in like the next month. You know what I mean? And I'm just giving extremes. I mean, everything's different, but you can get it taken off within the year. So now you don't have that 7 year look on your credit report. It wasn't even on there a year. So that looks better for you. Did that
Yeah.
help you? Did that help answer the question, Devin?
Yes, because I just want to make sure like anybody sitting here tonight wasn't thinking, well, he said about 7 years, but what about after 7 years? Maybe it's just 8 years it comes off. But no, you're saying that like none of these things have to come off your credit score. You
Exactly.
have to be
They
adamant
don't.
about getting after them to take them off. You
I
have to
mean, well,
take them off.
there is a unwritten rule, I guess that, and I've heard, I have no 100% proof, but I've heard, seen for myself that after 7 years things do drop off. So there is an unwritten rule that the credit bureaus do that, but something that's like public knowledge, like a foreclosure or a judgment,
Mm,
those things could stay on 10, 12. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Is it something like the criminal history? They say like when you go for a job, they're only supposed to go back, what is it, 7 years too, or whatever years it is.
It depends
But
on the job.
Yeah, I mean, like
yeah,
for certain jobs, they can go back like throughout your whole life. Other times, like
Yeah.
what the job for Lowe's, they only did a background check up to a year. So, it
okay,
depends. But go ahead.
okay. So, well, we'll just say that they tell you. We'll say they tell you. But in all actuality, they're still getting your whole criminal history and it still sways them. Is that something like if you do your credit report, somebody gets your credit report, are they going to see that you had a foreclosure even though you took it off? Is it still going to say he had a foreclosure in 89 but he paid it?
No, now if you get it removed off your credit report, it is removed. If
Okay.
somebody like I removed off my credit report today, March 11th, March 12th, if somebody pulled my credit report, they cannot see it because it's off. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's off. Now, if I didn't pull it, say I paid it, and I have a paper that says I paid this in full, because that's one thing that people have. They say, well, that was on there. Like if you had eviction and you went and paid it, and they wrote something that said, well, he paid this, they're in good standing. But you never got it pulled off your report. It's still on your credit report, but you're showing each one that asked you that you have this proof that you paid it. But what about the people that are pulling it that you're not able to show them this proof? You know what I mean? So that's why I always say just get it pulled. Just get it
Yeah.
pulled off of there. Just it's easier. it's better for you because again, once it gets pulled, that item cannot come back. It's not like, well, we're going to pull it, and if you haven't did anything in 4 years, you know, it's going to pop back.
No,
You know
no,
what I
it's
mean?
gone. Once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. Now, I will say this: there. I do believe that something like a student loan, like say you got a student loan pulled off. Once you get a student loan pulled off, it does not negate you from paying the bill. You still are on the hook to pay the bill. It just came off your credit report. But like say you went back to school, if you go back to school, now that whole thing gets started all over again. So
Mm.
now that'll come back on from the new thing you went back to school, but then they'll add this old thing because now it's all the same. It's all
Yeah.
a student loan. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? So now you got to go get it pulled off again because you got that pulled off, didn't pay this, and said, "I'm going back to school."
Yeah.
And I think that's the most predatory lending there is student loans, man.
Yeah, think about it. They'll
Mm.
they'll give you a $200,000 student loan, but won't give you $20,000 to start a business
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that is
at
insane.
18.
At 18. Yeah,
At
and that
18.
is of course it's predatory. Of course, I mean, because you think about it, someone who doesn't even know what most college because they don't maybe know exactly where they're going in life, and then they're paying for this education. They're like, oh yeah, I need this to be successful. There's people like us that are older, been experienced around the. Well, I'm not really older. I'm 21,
No,
but
you're still a pup.
I'm still a baby. But I'm saying that there's been people like us who are learned things and we have ideas and ideas for businesses that could be successful better the area and like just what Norman's talking about with this credit stuff that these things are really lucrative. They could be
Hello?
conservative.
All right, I'm with you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, they could be very lucrative businesses, and they won't even give us the money to start that up. But like you said, they'll give a kid $200,000, to study for. I mean, what's one of those things that they always make memes
Underwater
about?
basket weaving.
Yeah, underwater basket weaving or gender studies or something like that. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something crazy. And like I said, we got to learn the system we live in. It is not, I mean, it's like chess, anything else. You learn the game and you learn how to play it. It's like coach, you learn the game, you go study the other team, then you got a better chance of winning. But this is something, again, it's like the way they come at us and the way the system is set up. And like, we all agree, they're starting to check your credit to hire you. It's like, we got to get this together, man. This is not, you can't, ignorant is bliss is not going to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. I mean, you
Right.
have to get in the game and you have to be, more diligent
So
about your own financial affairs. Go ahead.
it's the education process and do your research and try to get like the youngest people in your circle. That's like I wanted to have this conversation because we do have a lot of younger people on there, and we could have got the opinion from Dev too, because he's younger and he's going into these things where I wouldn't imagine he had too much on his credit, where if he gets a hold of it now, you know what I mean, he could build himself to where
Right.
he's building his life, and he, like we're in a business venture ourselves. So when it comes time where we have to say, hey, we got to look ourselves in the eyes and take that risk and bet on ourselves, that we have our credit is standing to go in there and make those decisions. And I think that is very, like we're talking right now, just like you said about the college, and Dev said about the college, that they're giving all this money to these kids. Now they're screwed from rip if they go in there and they don't really understand, because they go in there and they say, this isn't for me, I want to go do this. Now they got this running after them all their life. They miss a payment,
Right.
their credit screwed, and then they might find something like, hey, I want to do this, and they can't do nothing about it because of that.
Well, what about the one that actually went through school, graduated, got a good job, but already you on the hook for
Yeah,
all this
you
money you
still got
already
it.
owe? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So
right.
you can't
Even
go
you get
out
out.
and live the American dream, buy the house, the car you want. No, because I still owe, 200,000 in student loans.
Yeah,
It's
Educate,
crazy.
educate, educate, man. I think that's what it is. That's what I wanted to do. Wanted to bring you on here and let because I had so many questions, and like main thing was, like you said over and over, was the time factor. Like you got so much stuff going on. It's something that's in the back of your head, but it you think in your mind until you want to go make a move or go try to do something, and then it smacks you in the face when you could have took the time, take a little time, or go to somebody, a specialist yourself, to put you in the right situation and start figuring out either how to fix the problem and move forward with that. So I really think it's very important. Like financials is like anybody, because we support like grassroots movement, entrepreneurship. We entrepreneurship. We support those things, and finances in your credit is like number one if you're trying to make a
Right.
move.
If you're trying to do something, like you said, you need finances, and then it helps you. If you get finances, you trying to start something, just like we talked about that car. You can go get this business loan or whatever through normal ways and just sign it. And I'm like, look, you get all this money back. Well, your change that you don't pay it all year. You get your change back. It's not as much as before because of, the laws now. But anyway, to be on 6 months is $500 with the services I offer. Now you can do it yourself, whatever. But I tell them, I say, if you go with me, if you put $500, that'll pay you for 6 months. At 6 months, you should be able to come out on top. But I always tell people that like I said, I got this in the beginning of the year, so I'm telling people all this time. I'm like, look, your taxes came. Go ahead and invest in yourself. Give yourself all of 2019. Definitely by the end of 2019, if you're not around 800 by the end of 2019, if you stayed that long, if you're not 800, then something's wrong.
So basically, like the company that you're working for is like a subscription based type company.
It's a membership, yeah.
Membership.
Yeah.
Membership where they have like in-house, like LegalZoom, basically.
Yeah. You just what it is well, I'll tell you right now. It's to get started, it would be $188. That's $99 activation fee, and your first month's to $89, and then it's $89 a month thereafter. And like I told you before, I tell them 6 months, just so you get your affairs in order. If you want to come and you only want to get to a certain number and you get there after 3 months, you want to leave, that's your business. You know what I'm saying? But again, the education is learn these things so you don't never come back to this position where you at. You won't be having to look for me. You won't have to find out how to write a dispute letter. None of that. You can just go ahead and live your life because you got these things in it. And like you said, it's education, and it has to be second nature to us. You know what I mean? We can't get caught up into, the commercialization of TV and everything else. You got to just live within your own little bubble of your finances and stay there, and you'll be fine. But that's where the problem is. Everybody wants to floss.
Live above the means. Live above the means. Everybody wants a Bugatti Veyron. Everybody wants a Range Rover.
Yeah. All right, so we don't want to overstimulate our crowd. I think there's a lot of information in there, and I think we all agree that it's like something that we need to look into. Everybody, that whether they have no credit now, or they have bad credit in their later years, like it's something that you could go back and do. It's something that's not intimidating once you get the facts and you sit down and you actually learn what it is you could do to fix those things. So I think it was a good conversation, man. I appreciate you taking the time to educate us on that, man.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah. Hey, and Norman, before you go, I did want to ask you one quick question. Where could people find you to get a hold of you, or if they were interested in this information or the course you offer or whatever it is?
And we'll post it up. Just tell us, and we'll post it.
They can find me on Facebook, Norman Saunders. I just started another IG because my IG got hacked and deleted. So I guess I'm making moves and people trying to silence me. But I started another one, which is NGS Credit Solutions. Okay. But you can the best thing to do is Facebook, Norman Saunders. Go there. I've been posting. That's where I met Coach and got with him. And you can message me there, and then we can get on there. Because I've learned a lot of times too that people don't really want to admit they have bad credit in public. They like do the messenger or private, you know what I mean? So I understand, you know what I mean? Because they're like, I don't want people to know I got bad credit. Well, there's 60,000 that have 60 million that have under 599, and there's like another 12 to 15 million that have under 699. So you're not alone.
Yeah,
Great.
you're
And
out
one
of luck.
more thing, I had a great idea because we're me and Dev are building a media company, right? So we could come up with some cool ideas, some using technology. You're in North Carolina. We could use technology. We could come up with some cool idea to make some kind of like promotional thing. I don't know what you can do as far as that with the company that you're with, if you can use their name or you're allowed to do anything, but we could come up with some cool creative way to make some kind of video that we could use to post to educate people on that, and possibly send business in both people's direction.
All right, that's cool. I can work on it. See what I can come up with. Get with you, clear it by you guys or whatever. We can go that route. Again, like you said, networking works. It
Right.
really does because I do. Like I said, I build houses and then starting to flip houses, and I have a email list that's like 4 pages and haven't even started flipping houses yet. But I got email list of 4 pages of people that want to get in business with me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it's real estate. I will say this: if you're going to correct your last thing, if you're going to correct your credit and you're trying to get another stream, do not buy cars.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
depreciate as soon as you
Do,
sit in
don't,
them and drive them off the
yeah,
lot.
don't buy jewelry. Don't buy real estate. That is never going to go anywhere. Somebody always going to need a place to live. Somebody's
mm,
going to need a place to put their brick and mortar store because everything's not going online. You know what I'm saying? I would
mm.
say buy real estate because that right there is not going anywhere. We're getting more and more people every day, and they all going to
Cool.
need somewhere to live.
Cool. Appreciate it, Norm, man. I appreciate you
Hey, no
coming on,
problem.
bro.
All right,
No
take care,
problem.
Norman. See you
All right,
later.
y'all take it easy. Hey.
Peace.
All right, let me double check here to see if Norm of the North here. What's this? Get rid of this. All right, it's just me and you now. All right, so now we can get on to the other things. Unless you want to end the show there, we can just end it.
No, I mean, where are we at right now? No, I want to talk
40,
about it.
47 minutes. Yeah, no, we're not an hour in. That's why I was just curious. But okay,
No, no,
we're here.
we can go a little bit. So I mean, yeah, that was a good conversation. I think there was a lot of things in there that people, just to bring the awareness of people, going on and looking at their credit and understanding how important of it. I mean, for me, where I'm at looking back at it, I just seen a lot of things that I did not know out of the having conversations with him, as far as like, the disputes and doing all that. It just seemed like a journey that was going to take long, and I just
Mm.
kept putting it off. So it's something that I'm looking into.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest takeaway from that conversation we just had was learning that the credit businesses that exist and these debt collectors aren't the big boogeyman that you think they are. Like he said, that they're really just the little man, not the Wizard of Oz that you think he is. Once you pull back the curtain, you see, oh, it's just this guy that's been talking to
Just
people.
on his computer, like,
And they're betting, and that's what they're betting on. They're betting on our ignorance of the problems and issues.
to
They're
not
betting on the
do it.
fact that we don't know well enough to take care of ourselves. That's what they're betting on. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, I seen the other day. You had that live stream the other day about your little Tinder idea, which I think is cool. It's funny that could be something popping. And I came across an article and they like compared it to um, somebody like using Tinder. So it's this like was using the police. We always end up in Florida. Remember that with
with Florida,
all
yeah,
the weird shit's going to Florida. What's going on with that shit? But anyway, it was a Florida cop. He was using the police database as like looking for people to, and it says he looking for people to date. I guess he was going through like a profile, like he was swiping. Oh yeah, that's a match for me. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, not getting any information. So this is creepy. It seems like he had like a 6 year run, and he went on like 100 dates, 50 women he took out of the database.
hmm
And it's not like Tinder where they can see you and they get to see your profile and all that. It's just him going in the database and creeping on people.
Yeah, so here's my question. So how was he using it to creep? Was he just being like, "Oh, I found their phone number," then he'd message them, and then like he wouldn't tell them like how he knew them, or was it like one of those? And I want to know what woman's like really trying to go out with the cop. Do you know what I mean? Like after like they're convicted criminals, because you know that's how you put them in the database. They have some kind of criminal background or something, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
Right.
let me find." And then like the girl, like what girl is gonna be like, "Oh yeah, the cop wants to date me. Let's go out with him." The guy that's gonna snitch if he catches me doing something illegal.
Well, what you could do is though, think about it. Like they don't know that you're doing this, and you're a cop.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of like the supposed to be trusted people in the world. Nobody really like you see a cop. It depends on. In my case, if I see a cop, I'm always questioning it, like what the fuck. But most people are gonna be like, oh, it's a cop, so he could put himself into your life without you even knowing it and then turn it into, hey, how you doing? Oh, so come up with a scenario to put himself into your life and figure out where you're at, where you be, and make a bump introduction. But he already knows your life, and you don't know jack shit about him. So that's basically what he was doing. That's creepy as fuck, bro. That is creepy, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just when I think about it, I mean, it's definitely messed up. It's the most messed up thing, you know, like not like the most messed up thing we've ever talked about, but it's just messed up because seeing a cop who's just going through your information because he has access to it, and you know, like trying to be like, all right, let me take this girl out real quick, you know. I mean, I guess it's still maybe not. It's not really as bad as I think it is because people kind of do that on Facebook all the time. I creep on a girl before I say anything to her. You know, like I'd be like, "What's her?" That's why they call it creeping, because you're just like, "All right, what's she about? What's she into?" Like, I need to know. It's weird because it's coming from that place, but because I think there's maybe more personal information than I would see maybe on someone's Facebook could be, or
Oh,
something.
you got all their information.
Yeah, all of it.
On a
But
face on a police database, you got enough information to go do some fraud in their name.
so you could have like their social.
Yeah, so it's not like a dating site. It's not like Facebook, and it's not like checking them out. It's him coming up with a scenario to introduce himself into his life. It's not like he's hitting him up on Facebook. He might have used that
Mm,
platform, but he already knows who you are. He knows what you're about. He knows your history. He got all the information to find out anything about you.
okay,
So that's creepy. That is
that is
totally.
creepy. But I will say this: if you ever read Robert Greene's Art of Seduction,
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the main things. It's the first step was choose the right victim, which was he was using that to set it up, and then the second step is approach indirectly. So you have to create a sense of whenever you're in the seductive process that Robert Greene says in his book. This is just something I want to tie in because I've read the book many times. You have to make it look like it's canny, yeah, uncanny, like this was all just a coincidence, because that's what people fall in love with. Whenever something feels forced, we kind of feel like, we don't. It's not romanticized enough, But he's trying to make it look like, and this is what you're saying, is he's trying to make it look like, oh, I'm gonna set up this scenario where, like, oh, hey, we just so happen to bump in at the supermarket, or hey, you just happen to come here for your, buy your parole test or whatever the hell it is. I don't know what it could be, but whatever it is, he's trying to make it look like it's this faded thing, almost this faded veneer, when it really isn't, because he actually knew where you were gonna be because he's creeping on you, which is messed up.
Yeah, no, your information. And as far as like art of seduction, I haven't read it. So what are we saying this book is about? It's about
how
seducing people?
how to seduce somebody. Yeah, yeah. How to seduce people. But you have to. I mean, like I said, it's people will say it's some kind of devious book or something, but it really is. I mean, fundamentally, I mean, this is how most seductions work. Like, relation like our relationship is genuine, right? Like not like that, you weirdo. But I'm saying like how we became
Yeah, don't
friends.
go there.
But like
Rephrase.
how we became friends, right? So
Uh-huh.
we met in like an uncanny, like it almost said faded, right? Because me and you met at like football practice. I showed up and then we started talking about things, and then we're like, oh cool, like we actually have a lot of these compatible things like we want to get done in life, right? So that makes us like that it created a sense of attraction. It doesn't have to be seductive or sexual attraction, but attraction between friends, attraction between women, stuff like that. Like some of the relationships in my life that I thought were the best in my life were the ones where it felt like, it was faded. Like it was just it came to be by chance. Which though there are natural moments like that, but for whenever you're the seducer who wants to get a woman or who wants to get a boyfriend or whatever, you have to create those scenarios where make the target, the person you want to seduce, feel like it's some kind of uncanny thing.
Yeah, I mean, I depend. It depends on like what manner that you're doing it. I just think in this manner, it's like it's just out of control because I think in that manner, if you're using the seduction to me is like if a female is trying to seduce a dude, there's things that she does. She might place herself. She might say, "Oh, he goes to the gym at this time." Every week because she happened to see run into him or seen a Facebook post or maybe stalked a Facebook post. I
Mm-hmm.
get that. That's a normal like technology. You got
Right.
technology that puts you in that place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like and then like say you do get with this chick,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, either way, from the dude's way, if the dude did it or the girl did it, 9 times out of 10, if you guys hit it off and down the road, you're probably gonna like tell like maybe even early in the relationship, like, yo, I knew you were gonna be here, so I kind of put myself in that position or something like that. I understand this. I don't think this guy was doing any of that, yo.
Yeah.
There was nothing good about it. Wasn't it was just some like slime ball, you know what I mean? Slime ball move. I just don't. It wasn't to me like it was just all
I
slimish.
think
It was.
I think it's different from the his perspective because he has a lot more than just information like about one's whereabouts or where they could run into or where you could set up the chance encounter. He knows your information where like you said he could commit fraud in your name. I mean he could hold leverage over your head if he wanted to. Like if he wanted to be diabolical about it, he could walk up to a girl and say, "By the way, I know you have this that you haven't paid." Or this and this that you're have some kind of warrant or whatever, be like, I can make this go away real quick, and it'd be like, oh, one of those type deals. Not saying that he did that, but I'm saying that someone like that could, in theory, put something together like that because it's
Oh,
happened. Things like
here's
that, blackmail like that has happened.
here's some breaking news, and let's switch it up real quick. You know what I mean? Conor McGregor was just arrested in South Florida for stealing a cell phone of somebody who was trying to take his photo.
Hey, you want to know something funny? For
Hmm.
one, that's in Florida. For some reason, why
Florida.
we can't get out of Florida? Florida, what's up? Why is everything nuts down there? But like, for you got Conor McGregor stealing phones. Now, I don't know. I don't think that's. I think that's fucked up. Just taking some
He
dude's
probably.
phone.
I mean, it's one of those things you get. He's probably frustrated in life. He likes to party a lot, and somebody was probably being a little over aggressive, and he's just, you get to that point if you're an aggressive fighter, you get something to him that might be like, we seen him flip out and almost get kicked out of the MA for throwing that wild shit he did with
On
the
the
chair
bus.
against the bus. Yeah, he probably grabbed somebody's phone like, yo, stop taking my picture, I asked you, you know what I mean, because the frustration of people always having cameras in your faces and stuff like that. So some people just snap. Not saying that it's right. It's, you got to know what you put yourself into, and if you're in one of those moods, you probably shouldn't go out in public or anything like that. So it's probably a scenario like that. It's obnoxious person just didn't get that he didn't want to be bothered, and he just took the phone, and then the police, he's probably being rude to the police, so they just put it up like that. you know
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But then I said Connor's probably kind of a guy where like he would do something dickheadish like that, and then after he realized he was being a dick, he'd be like, "All right, let me go buy you a new phone," Because like
yeah, I'm
what's
sure.
$600 to me, Like here's your new iPhone, like get out of my face.
I'm sure he'll get at that squashed real quick. There won't be no charges. It'll just be something they'll talk about, and he'll just pay the people off, and it'll be over with. So, hey, let's talk about some NFL, man. Shit's been popping, bro. Let's
Yeah,
let's let's end this show on some NFL. Your
let's.
guys, your guys, like I give the grade so far, like this week, like people are kind of misled. We talked about this a little bit. Like people are in verbal agreements right now. I mean, they can change, but 9 times out of 10, it's very rarely that a deal changes once they announce it. And you know what I
Mhm.
mean? They got the word. It's one of those, you get the word, you're gonna do it unless something drastically bad happens and the deal can't go through. But I think the Raiders and the Lions made the biggest move so far this week, go heading into free agency Wednesday. They're making the biggest move so far.
Yeah. Well, I think the Trent Brown idea is a good move because Colton Miller just showed he has good tangible traits, but he's not a pass protector for Derek Carr's blind side. He just isn't.
Uh-uh.
He because he has these amazing physical characteristics, but his footwork and like all of his like the untangibles, the things you have to learn, the techniques aren't there. So they're probably going to move him to right tackle where he could probably be more of like a power blocker and things like that. And then you bring in Trent Brown, who Von Miller, Vaughn from Denver said he's one of the best tackles in football. He's like no one's as big as him and can move as good as him. And I'm
He's
like, okay,
light on the feet, light
yeah.
on the feet.
And then we go. Then the Raiders go and they get Antonio Brown, who I mean, let's talk about that for just 1 minute. And all I want to say is that the trade I think was totally one way. I mean, like the Raiders, I think they won the whole trade. I mean, what a third and a fifth round pick for a guy who could make. I mean, we've seen it. He can make insane production. And even if it doesn't pan out exactly the way it is, say he only gets like 5 or 6 touchdowns. I mean, a third and a fifth round pick. That's nothing. Now the money they're going to pay him, that's where the things could cost him. But again, Antonio wants guaranteed money, and he's a hard worker. And I think that he's going to come out and he's going to do good for Oakland. The change in scenery is probably going to help set him up for, I think, a better relationship with the organization.
Yeah, it was definitely one-sided. I think the Steelers should try to find a way to reconstruct it. They put themselves in a thing. And the fact of the matter is, Pittsburgh is second to Green Bay in passing. They pass 68% of the time. So taking Antonio out of the thing and people thinking, I'm Steeler Nation to the death, but let's be realistic. Juju is not Antonio Brown. Juju was successful because of, we're not saying Juju can't make big plays, but if they're putting the number one on Juju now, Juju's going to cause those double teams, and he's not Brown. He's not that guy that's going to make those double teams be so worried about him that they're not going to be able to come out. Basically, he's not going to get his double teamed as much as Brown. So we're not going to see that. So the Steelers lose at that. And plus, 22 million is still on the Steelers
They still
cap.
got to pay him. They still got to pay him.
They still got hit with that cap, and that's the most in NFL history. Now we're looking at the Steelers. Now it's deeper than all this. To me, you lost Bell and Brown for a third and fifth round pick because you're getting jack shit for Brown. You're getting, for Bell. And you didn't have to pay him last year, but you could have got something for him, or you could have worked out a deal. To me, this is the front office of the Steelers. It's their way of doing things, and it also tells me that players are starting to understand now that, hey, we don't have to. We're making this game what it is. If we all put our helmets down right now, are they going to be able to go out there and make stars off of average Joes? Like, have you ever seen a strike season? Have you ever done research on a strike season? It's the worst football you ever want to see, bro. Yeah, it is the worst football you ever want to see. They don't want that. So they're starting to see the leverage that they have. And Antonio Brown played it. Bell played it. He played a riskier game, but Antonio Brown just played it out right there. And right there from the time he opened his mouth, from that time, he had a plan going in. I think he knew where he wanted to go. They had conversations, even though they weren't supposed to have those conversations, but they had them. When the Steelers tried to throw him out to Buffalo and say, yeah, we're going to do this to you, he played that right. And I'm sure he had a whole bunch of advice coming from a whole bunch of different places, even Oakland too. So, and they got the deal done. So I don't see it's a loss. One thing it's going to do for you guys is that Brown's, like you said, he's a hard worker. He's going to come in there. He's going to work hard. That's going to, make those receivers say, yo, I got to work hard like him. I got to work hard like him. And it's going to make Derek Carr better.
Yeah. And the secondary is going to make the secondary better, because when you got to play against a guy at practice every day like Antonio Brown, you don't want to be getting smoked on every play. And Garyon Conley, this is just another thing I wanted to bring up. In that Steelers-Raiders game that happened last season where you lost, you
had to throw that shit in there.
I got to throw those jabs in there until you beat me. And then once you beat me, you could throw them back. That's all right. That's how this game works. But But Antonio didn't do anything, and they didn't even double team him. They had Gary play man coverage on him. And me and my buddy Courtney, had this discussion where we were saying, well, was this around the time where Antonio had kind of checked out of Pittsburgh? Because it was later in the season when they played us. Was this whenever like Antonio started checking out and he was like, I don't want to play for the Steelers anymore? But
It could be, but I
but
don't think so because I don't see him. I think that like he started to get it real bad, and I don't think he checked out at that point. I think he might have just been like getting frustrated. I don't think he just checked out totally though.
yeah,
You guys just beat us.
yeah.
You guys have our number for all those times, and we can't undercredit. Who'd you say was guarding him?
Gary
I forgot.
Conley. He was a guy who was he had a really he was our first round pick in the 2016 draft. I want to say 2016, 2017 draft, and he had like a rape allegation against him, but he was like really good out of Ohio State. That thing got squashed. They had enough evidence to say that it wasn't it wasn't accurate, and he came in, and then he got hurt, and then he came in this season. This is the first season he actually really played with the team, and he crushed it. I mean, he was whenever he came in, whenever he was playing, he had another shin injury again. But whenever he was playing, he was shut down. I mean, against Kansas City, against the Steelers, they'd put him on the best guy, and he would play them lights out every time. So
So we got to give them some credit for that. I mean, the defense probably came up with a good scheme. For some reason, we can't play you guys that well, so we got to give the people credit when it's due. Because I mean, anybody can lock down somebody with they could have that game where they just be like, you step up to the occasion and just be like, I'm not going to let this dude beat me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let. They're going to have to find another way to beat me. And I think that's going to be an issue, even though that we do draft well, especially with receivers.
mm-hmm.
I think we will find a receiver in the draft that will take the place, or we'll get somebody. I don't think we're going to do much free agents. I think if we were going to do it, would have been somebody like Deshaun Jackson. I think would have been a good fit for a Band-Aid fit right now, Band-Aid fix. But he just early reports said that they released him, but they actually traded him to the Eagles. So I
back to
think
the
we're going to
team.
go in the draft. I think we're going to go in the draft and fix that problem. And it's just a whole. It's one of those things, like it happens. And I think like the front offices. I think to me like one. I'm a football coach. I'm a football fan before I'm a Steelers fan, but I'm an advocate for the players before I'm all that shit because I truly believe that the billions in dollars that's being spread around should be spread around a lot better to the players, especially in
Mm-hmm.
their after football life and their injury times and stuff like that. Because we got to look at it. This everybody's clown, like everybody's trying to trash AB and all that stuff. But hey, if it's a bad situation and nobody's trying to fix the situation, you got to do what you got to do for you and your family. He just secured a $30 million bag in Pittsburgh. He wasn't going to get no, there was no guaranteed money. He's
40.
just now, huh?
It's a $40 million bag guaranteed, and then he could get up to 53 million, I do believe.
No, it's 30.1 he's guaranteed and 50.1 overall. Like he
He,
can
he,
make
he can make up to 51.
Yeah, so he just secured that for him and his family, and he wasn't going to get that. And he's
And
making more per year. He
mm,
wasn't getting that in Pittsburgh. So if he got whatever is in his contract or hurt or whatever, or they cut him or whatever scenario that would have happened, which probably would have been unlikely, but anything can happen, he wasn't guaranteed that money. So I don't see some of the things he said
yeah, they
I
were.
didn't like, but I do not have any hard feelings, and I'm still a nation until I die for him making the move to get out of there and secure his future. Because we all know that when the if they don't have no more use for you, it's not like wrestling and they keep Hulk Hogan around and all that.
Mm,
If they cannot use you, if something happens, you get hurt and you lose your step or you just aging, they're not going to keep you around to give you respect out of for
mm,
what all you did for them. They have to move on and they're going to say it's just business.
yeah, and that's what
So
it is. I mean, because
I
it is a
think
business.
the players should be able to do the same themselves. So it's just going to be this week's going to be hot, bro.
Yeah,
You're going to see a lot of things that are going on.
it's crazy that
Humphreys,
most of the big names are already coming off the board like before the day of Wednesday. That's what I was saying was so interesting about like Like just I don't know, I just noticed this season, just this year, where like it seemed like everybody got the you knew the deal before the day even came, because what we I mean last year it was like this. It was like, oh yeah, we have an idea who might get him, and it's like what they're talking about Le'Veon Bell right now, probably the Jets, maybe Oakland, maybe not the Colts, who said they backed out, but whatever the other team was that I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe the Jags or who I forget who it was. Maybe one of them will grab him, but this year it's like they already know. They're like, yeah, like they've already basically there was a conversation had, like Trent Brown's already going to Oakland basically. They're not saying it's official, but that's where he's expected to go. Like they already had a conversation. They basically have the numbers already figured out. The same way with who was it, Trey Flowers from Detroit. They already know what the general contract's going to be, and they already know what team he's going to. That's what I was saying was different
Yeah,
from this year
they
than
they
previous.
they've done this for years. I think more now that more now because it depends on your how you're how you're restricted. Can you talk to people? Can you not? So they've done this. I've known this all the time that they always announce. They always say expected to sign. That just means that that's what's going to happen. The teams picked up the phone and told their like closest insider that's in the sports world that announces on ESPN or whatever, and they give them the scoop of it so they can break the news and get them some credibility. It's a two-way street. You know what I mean? They scratch each other's backs. And those is what those things are about. But you can guarantee the ones that we've seen are pretty much not going to change, at all. It's not a rumor no more. If they put out those numbers, those guys are pretty much going to sign there. And I think there's still a lot of like Landon Collins. Did you see his contract?
No, but I did see that the Honey Badger is going to Kansas City.
Oh, did they sign him? I didn't get to see that. Or they
Ty-
just said it?
Yep, they just posted up on the Facebook that Tyrann Mathieu has agreed to terms with the guy for Kansas City. I'm guessing that's probably why they made some cuts like Justin Houston this week, because the Chiefs are probably trying to get Tyrann.
Yeah, that's a good pickup for them. Somebody's going to get a good pickup in Houston too for Justin Houston. And just speaking on that right there, like going back to Landon Collins, he signed a $84 million deal
With
for 6 years with 45 million guaranteed.
with who?
That's to the Redskins.
The Redskins. Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean the Redskins. I don't know. They're underrated, overrated. I don't know what you'd call them. They're to me they're like one of the most in recent history the most relevant football teams to me. And if I want them to be better, but like whenever I see Landon going, it kind of makes me feel bad because it's like, oh, you got this great guy. Which actually no. There's a lot of people that are debating whether he's hype or if his play is really bigger than his name. And I'm
You
curious
never
too.
know. You never know because you can end up somewhere. I think he's a great player. I watched him. I watched a couple games of him. I think he's going to fulfill that. And they're in that rebuilding thing. And I think Jay and John sit down now that John's back in the fight of everything. I think him and his brother are probably having that competition thing, but they're doing it in a manner of, hey, make this move. You know what I mean? Make this move. I want you to be up there. Let's try to do the Harbaugh thing. You know what I mean? Let's try to do that. So they're probably working together and they're probably like they got to find them a quarterback, and I think they're going to find somebody because they've been having the bad luck with the quarterbacks and they just been signing band-aids and stuff like that. But I think they're gonna really make a push this year and try to get out of the gutter. And actually, speaking of that, like let's go back to the Raiders for a second. The play with Brown, like to me, what I see out of that tells me a lot. The deal with Brown and then get Trent Brown tells me they're committed to pass the ball. They're going to go after that. That tells me that either Gruden, to me, it tells me that Gruden believes in Derek Carr right now. So he's going to give him the opportunity. Last year was like, hey, we got to just get through this. I'm going to make some moves and I'm going to get the players you need to be successful. And that I'm going to go out here right now and say, I already looked through everything and I always pick a team. I'm going to pick your Raiders to be the most improved team. Like last year, I picked the Bears and they did excellent. They were a kick away from making it to the championship, the NFC championship.
Mm-hmm.
And, or was it the NFC
No, it was
championship?
just to go to the NFC divisional round.
Okay, to the divisional round. And but I expect them to make the playoffs, be the most improved team this year
Mm-hmm.
because of the moves they're gonna make. Because of the draft, they still got all these draft picks they can pick big players with, and they made these two powerful moves. Now you know when you pick these draft picks, the first one's gonna cost them some money, but those later round they can keep them in like a 4-year contract. So it's not going to be that much off their cap hit. So if they pick well and keep them around for a while, they might have to renegotiate some deals. But I don't see John Gruden coming in there to wait 3 years to try to be successful. I expect him to come out next year and really go hard at it.
You know what I think might be a little bit of the motivation for that is that they're staying in Oakland again this year.
Yeah,
And they're thinking, and I think what they're thinking now is because after this year, I'm guessing the Las Vegas Stadium is going to be done. They're thinking,
beautiful,
let's try and leave Oakland in style. Let's leave Oakland with a
right?
Super Bowl. Let's leave
And
with a, I mean, yeah,
let's head into Vegas, new home, big lights, great place. Let's come in there
star
rocking and
power,
rolling.
big
Yeah, let's
names.
come in there with a team in place. And this year we proved so much that next year that we're in it for like odds go from because they showed the odds of them winning. It used to be 100. Got the Brown trade. It's at 80. Now they got Trent Brown, so I'm sure it's around like 70 right now,
Mm,
65. So they're thinking when they go into Vegas, they want them odds to be down where they're being talked about. These guys are going to be in contention next year. So they're going to make power moves.
yeah, like I said, I agree. So real quick, I just want to end this. I want to end this show in a little rapid fire segment where I'm going to just list off a free agent and then I'm going to ask you where you think they're going to go.
All right.
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell, I think like it's gonna say whether he's gonna go to if he's all about the money, he's probably just gonna end up with the Jets. But I think the perfect fit for him would be the Colts, but I think it's probably gonna be just with the Jets.
The Jets. C.J. Mosley, linebacker out of Baltimore.
I thought actually they took a linebacker from Tampa Bay today. I forgot his
K1
name.
Alexander.
Yeah, I thought he was going to end up with the 49ers. I think Mosley will probably end up somewhere. I'm not sure, to be sure. I didn't get a chance to think about that. My 49ers where I had him, but now that they made that sign, I'm not really sure right now.
Well, maybe think about this for a second. C.J. leaves Baltimore and goes to the 49ers, where
It's
they just lost. Because C.J. Mosley's a good cover linebacker, but he's
mhm,
not as young as Quan Alexander. So Quan Alexander's just getting a little bit more money. CJ, he's also a coverage linebacker, gets to go
mhm.
back down to San Francisco where he basically fills the role that Quan had. Sideline to sideline coverage, stuff like that, at a little bit less of a rate maybe than they could have afforded for Quan.
Yeah, yeah, we're just gonna have to see how that goes. How they deal with it. I'm gonna have to look more into it and see what the needs are, and we'll just go from there with that one.
Justin Houston.
Justin Houston, I could see that would be a move that the Steelers could and might think about making. I would like to see Justin make that move and come over there and maybe get a year out of him, maybe sign him to a year, and maybe try to figure out what to do with Bud Dupree and Bostic, one of those two guys. So I could see him going to Pittsburgh. I really want them to go ahead and get him.
I could see this is just a potential thing. I could see Justin going to Oakland
Oh yeah.
at a discount rate because I this is something that I've seen over the past few years is the Raiders like to take opponents, people that are like, their rivals, they like to take their players and make them their own. They did it with Navarro Bowman when they took him from the 49ers. I'm trying to think of another. They took a Chiefs player, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they will do that. They take those players and put them on their roster and give them the chance, kind of like a spite me move. It almost feels like. But Justin Houston, they need pass rush production. Justin Houston could do it. He just gets injured. You sign him at maybe like a lower rate. I could see him
Or I
playing
could
there.
see him with the Patriots too,
The
because
Patriots.
they're going to need that. But obviously, if the Patriots let that pop off that easily, he went to a Patriots coaching staff. So over the Lions, they have. We know Bill Belichick has like 6 scenarios going on before he's letting somebody go. So
Oh,
I could
oh,
see him going over there too.
oh! You already know. You already know that's Bill Belichick. Bill's like got like he's planned 5 seasons ahead. There's 5 seasons ahead. He's already have planned out. Like,
He's waking up out of his sleep like Justin Houston. We got to get to and start to go to the whiteboard and figuring everything out.
all right, and I'll grab one more to pull up off the list. Um, hmm. Let's go with Ronald Darby. He was like one of the best cornerbacks in football last
From the
year.
Broncos.
And then he tore. What's that?
From the Broncos.
No, Ronald Darby is from the Patriots, I believe. He got hurt though, and he's one of the best lockdown corners in football last year.
Darby? There was no Darby on the Patriots. Darby's from Denver.
Or maybe he played for the Eagles. Hold up. No. Ronald Darby. Let me. I
Check that. I think it's because I think
maybe he played for the Eagles, but he was one of the best. A torn ACL will hurt Darby's value, but the physical cornerback is still a class of a soft cornerback crop of free agents. Ronald Darby, I can look it up because he does not play for the Broncos. You're thinking of Brad Roby.
Oh yeah, Roby.
Ronald Darby.
I know he definitely didn't play for the Patriots. I don't know.
And if I'm not mistaken, okay. Oh no, yeah, you're right. He did play for. He went to the Eagles. He went to the Eagles, not the Patriots. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, he's playing for the Eagles, and then he said that the Eagles want him to stay. That's what I'm reading right now. But where do you think? What team's really hurting for a cornerback and willing to take the chance? Like they needed secondary help so bad that they're willing to take the chance on Ronald Darby.
Well, I'm gonna definitely say Steelers. I don't think they would have the money for him, so I'm thinking of that. He's young, 25, so he's probably gonna demand a lot. There's a lot of teams that need corners, man. If you look at the needs when you get off of here, look at every team's needs. It's corner and edge. Corner and edge. So you could pick any team who has the cap space for them. I would think like maybe the Colts want to step up their defensive game because they got exposed in the playoffs real bad. And I would think somebody like them, or I could even see somebody like San Diego making a move. They're gonna let Tynell Williams go. And they're gonna make room to strengthen up that defense that couldn't stop the Patriots last year.
Yeah, I was gonna say a team that's hurting for a corner so bad that they would take the risk. Oh man, that's a tough one for me to pick for me because I'm just thinking maybe the Jets.
The Jets.
Maybe
they have
Jets.
A lot of cap space.
They have a lot of money. And Ronald Darby is. I mean, he's terrific. He's a terrific player. I think that you get the Jets who say, "Hey, we got a lot of money. We can dull it out on him, and maybe even sign another good corner, right? Because they're gonna probably let Morris Claiborne walk." Then they were like, "Hey, we can probably sign another good corner to pair up with Tremaine Johnson, and then if something goes apart, we got it." So I think that's where Ronald Darby will go. Whew.
Sounds cool.
Little rapid fire free agency. We'll see how these predictions play out by the end of next week on our next week's show and say something. I do want to give a shout out. I wanted to give this out to Nick. Unfortunately, I couldn't because our live stream didn't work. I apologize. But Nick, I want to say thank you. Nick presented the information for. Remember last week we were talking about those wide receivers, and we were like, "What school was it?" It was. Oh God, now I just forgot it. It was LSU. It was. It was. I want to say it was LSU. It was Odell and Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry, yeah, that's who it was.
They both came out of the same school, and I forgot that. I didn't even know. I thought Jarvis came out of like a Florida school, but maybe that's just because the affiliation I had with the Dolphins. I thought he came out of a Florida school.
Yeah, one more quick thing on that note. The Giants are still taking offers with them. I see them rebuilding, and they're going to shut everything down. They're thinking after Eli, they're going to keep Eli around 1 year and grab some players. They're shopping. They're listening to Odell. I don't know if it's going to happen unless somebody gives up some major picks. I could see it happening. And then Jarvis is trying to get out of Miami himself. I don't know if the new coach.
Oh, no, Jarvis Landry's playing for the Browns.
Oh, Jarvis. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of who am I thinking of?
Kenny Stills probably.
No, there's another one down there. I forget his name.
Kenny Stills,
mistaken him.
Kenny, I can't think of his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, keep talking. I'll think of it.
He's trying to get out of there. That tells me that what's his name? The defensive coach from the the Patriots that got the Miami job. I think he's down there cleaning house, and I believe in that stuff. Like people like we're knocking your boy John Gruden, but if you come into the locker room and you don't feel that energy, that's what I know as a coach. You got to automatically the levels that I coach. Sometimes I had to remove people from the team because they were poisonous and they will cause a lot of issues. I see, I believe in that. I think coaches, when they come in, if they're not getting the energy that they expect from them people, make the moves and get the people in there that you can work with.
Yeah, agreed. Because, like I said, it's a team sport. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy football more than most sports because the team play it's so because everybody has a specific role. I mean, so specialized and niche. I mean, when it comes to blocking, when it comes to passing, when it comes to running, when it comes to catching, when it comes to defending, tackling, because like I said, you get a soccer player, right? I mean, it's a team sport. They have a role, but I mean, they have to have the same variable skills. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
But with
right.
football, I mean, everybody's so specialized, and you have to get the right players to work together, and they have the right attitudes. That's why, like I said, it's really is one of the best team sports. I think the best team sport out there.
Football, baby.
Football. But hey, we're gonna end that on that note. Again, I would say I wanted to thank you guys for stopping by, but you didn't really get to stop by. But I'll thank you guys if you come back and watch the whole show. Again, we appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Like us on Facebook, Bridging the Gap. Also check us out on the YouTube. I got a point over here. The YouTubes, Mediated Media. And Coach, you don't have anything else to say?
Nah, that's it, bro.
All
Good
right.
show.
Yeah, great show, guys. And again, hey, check your credit. We're out of here. See you.
Check your credit. Bah.